Welcome to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers Private.
Hello there, my name's Oliver and I'm a former addict in recovery. Welcome back to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers Private. The Recovery Cast is a podcast created by people in recovery from addiction for people in recovery from addiction. There are many definitions of addiction, but we keep it simple. Addiction to us is when people use alcohol, drugs, or certain behaviours repetitively to their detriment, basically when it's a problem for them and their families. Therefore, an addict is not necessarily someone using a needle in a dark laneway, and an alcoholic is not necessarily a homeless man in a park. Recovery for us means using an active daily process or program to deal with alcohol use disorder, substance use disorder, or other behavioural addictions. People in recovery are committed to complete abstinence. This daily process is as important to being able to live normal lives as daily dialysis is for people with kidney problems. This podcast is meant as a support tool for those in recovery. I myself am a recovering drug addict. However, each day we are going to focus on a different perspective of recovery. Everyone who participates in the podcast is in an active recovery program. We are not affiliated with any one recovery methodology and will focus on a variety of different types of recovery, including 12-step recovery programs such as Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and other things like Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, Recovery Dharma, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, and more. And a quick disclaimer, this podcast is intended to be informative. A podcast alone cannot support your sobriety and recovery, so we suggest it only as one component of a daily recovery routine. For more information on what recovery is, please go to www.rehab.melbourne. Now, today's episode is on what can be expected when you work the program, and that is specifically thriving. Now, I've spent all of the last episodes really talking about how to thrive in recovery, how to work that program, ways in which we can stay clean, ways in which we can maintain our recovery and get through everything one day at a time, no matter what. But now it's time to talk about the fact that, you know, in active addiction, we were simply surviving, and sometimes not, barely, by the skin of our teeth. And in recovery, we thrive. And I'm here to talk about the fact that, although it may not happen overnight, and it does take perseverance and time, but basically I'm here to say that thriving is inevitable when we work a strong recovery program. So we're going to start with a reading for November the 14th, and it is entitled Not Just Surviving. It's from the JFT, the Just for Today publication from Narcotics Anonymous. Okay. When we were using, our lives became an exercise in survival. Now we are doing much more living than surviving. Basic text, page 52. I'd be better off dead. A familiar refrain to a practicing addict, and with good reason. All we had to look forward to was more of the same miserable existence. Our hold on life was weak at best. Our emotional decay, our spiritual demise, and the crushing awareness that nothing would ever change were constants. We had little hope and no concept of the life we were missing out on. The resurrection of our emotions, our spirits, and our physical health takes time. The more experience we gain in living rather than merely existing, the more we understand how precious and delightful life can be. Travelling, playing with a small child, making love, expanding our intellectual horizons, and forming relationships are among the endless activities that say, I'm alive. We discover so much to cherish and feel grateful to have a second chance. If we had died in active addiction, we would have been bitterly deprived of so many of life's joys. Each day we thank a power greater than ourselves for another day clean and another day of life. Just for today, I am grateful to be alive. I will do something today to celebrate. This is so much optimism right there. And, I certainly did not get clean to just survive. I did not get clean to just to have that clean time. I didn't get clean for the sake of it. I got clean because I couldn't bear another moment of my active addiction destroying my life and the lives of my family and those around me. And yeah, I have some serious experience with mental health, all of that stuff. There were times where I really did want to end it all and just take myself off the earth and be done with it, because I couldn't bear another sort of moment of that same miserable existence. The highlight of my day was getting drugs, and then it all went downhill from there, and it just became the same. It just became like Groundhog Day every day, rinse and repeat, boring. And today, there are so many things in my life that I can enjoy and I'm grateful for. Yeah, I had no hope and no concept of the life that I was missing out on. I've mentioned before that I, in the last few months of my using, I asked my friend, who's one of my best friends, I said, hey, what's it like to live life without needing to use drugs to survive? And he looked at me like kind of strangely, and he said, oh, it's all right. And that was how far detached from reality I actually was, that I had no idea what it was like to wake up in the morning and not have to use, not have to continue that merry-go-round of destruction that I'd been going on for like 10 years or something. And today, I've talked about how to get clean. That's where Hills and Ranges Private comes in. Hills and Ranges Private, or just getting treatment, accepting help, and going to rehab. I think I had to do that. I would not be here without it, and it was extremely important to the beginning of my journey into recovery. Once I did that, and once I started working a program of recovery and doing the 12 steps, going to NA meetings, calling my sponsor, having hobbies, exercise, routine, all of these things, I began to thrive. I talk about this channel should be called the Thrive Cast as far as I'm concerned, because that's all I want my listeners to do is thrive. But the important thing is that we got to realize that it takes time. It takes time and patience and perseverance to get to that point. So what I did really was I sort of got into recovery, and I just did the stuff that was suggested. And for a long time, I think I was just grateful to be clean, and I was grateful to be making that progress in my program. And not a huge amount of stuff did change for a little while. I was working at a job that I didn't particularly enjoy. I was living at home with my mum, and I didn't really think that was very cool at the age of 27. There was a lot of things, external things that I felt like I was lacking. But what I was actually doing, which was really vital, was gaining experience in living rather than merely existing. And I've begun to understand that it was just a period of time where I had to learn how to live, and that's what my recovery was like, was just learning how to exist and to adult. And now I'm doing that. There has been, times in my recovery where I've just broken through sort of like the plateau that I was experiencing. And more recently, because I have been working a really strong program, things are falling into my lap and I'm truly thriving. So the opportunity to make this podcast is one great example of thriving as far as I'm concerned, because I'm trying to help you guys. You guys are helping me by listening. I'm sharing my experience. It's just a beneficial sort of endeavor for everybody involved. And look, in comparison to the way I was eking out an existence using, that really wasn't actually living. It was like an illusion of happiness that would only sort of fleetingly be there when I actually got, some drugs or alcohol or whatever it was. Today, I actually have really magnificent and beautiful experiences, and I realised how precious and delightful life can be. There was a time in my active addiction that I thought that life was miserable, and that I was just so angry and so down in the dumps and broken. And today, because I'm clean and because I work a strong recovery program, I get to do that traveling stuff. I get to, it says playing with a small child. Well, like my other job is that I'm a music teacher and I teach kids music, and I get to like give them the joy that I got when I was younger playing music. And that's really awesome. Like having a beautiful relationship with a woman that I love, that's something that I never really got to experience in my using, because the drugs always came first. And the moment somebody said, well, your using is damaging this relationship, I would push them away until they left me, because the drugs did come first. And expanding my intellectual horizons, I think it's interesting. I actually studied while I was in active addiction and got an honours degree, but perhaps I don't think I was really expanding my intellectual horizons truly. I think my intellectual horizons have expanded because my spiritual horizons have expanded, and I can see the world in a totally new way and observe it without having this lens of intoxication that I was viewing the world through. I sat in lectures under the influence, and I wrote a thesis under the influence, and what did I get out of it? I got a help debt, a university debt, and not particularly a huge amount else. Today, I can pursue my own sort of like education and learning completely free, and I'm thriving on that. There's endless activities that say I'm alive. I think probably my favourite one at this stage is getting up in the morning and going for a walk and listening to a meeting on my phone through Zoom while I'm walking, and just looking around at all the stuff that's in front of me. We're going to talk more about this after the break.
You're listening to the Recovery Cast by Hills and Ranges Private. Now playing daily on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. For more shows, visit us at www.rehab.melbourne.
Okay, so we are talking about thriving in recovery, and the reading is not just surviving. I think, we're just talking about how I was barely even surviving when I was in active addiction, and today I'm thriving. And it took a long time. It took a lot of just doing the things that were required of me. It took working the steps. It took helping others. It took doing service for other people, presenting in rehabs to share my experience. And eventually, I actually didn't really even have to do anything else. Opportunity and the opportunity to thrive has landed in my lap through very little of my own actual sort of self-will or willpower of trying to get things to happen. I think it's been incredibly easy because of my recovery program that I realised that there's something guiding me through my life, and that I can accept that sometimes things don't go the way I plan them, and that's okay, and that I can survive any situation, anything that happens in my life. I can survive it, and I can stay clean. And not only that, but I can actually thrive as a result of that. That's become the way I live my life. And the opportunity with the new job that I've been given, talking to you guys, is just a fantastic example of that, how I didn't particularly seek it out. It came to me at exactly the right time in my life, exactly the right time in my recovery, where I can actually help other people best and not worry about myself so much. I'm looking at a website talking about how to go from surviving to thriving. And it says here, it's tempting to think about your recovery in just terms of your sobriety, And while abstinence is of course an important benchmark of your progress, it's not the only one. Substance abuse can take a large toll on your life in many ways, physically, spiritually, mentally, socially, and perhaps even, So physically, mentally, socially, and perhaps even spiritually. I think definitely even spiritually. I was spiritually dead when I came into recovery, and I'm alive now spiritually. Complete recovery means putting all of these different areas of your life back into balance again. Here are a few pursuits that can help you. So I talk about all of those pursuits. I've talked about heaps of different things, lots of recovery programs, lots of treatment options that are on offer at Hills and Ranges Private. All of these things are really important. And it says on this website, start an exercise program. I've talked about a whole episode on exercise and time spent in nature and how that can really get your recovery just supercharged and make it really worthwhile and get a really good feeling out of it instead of sort of just white knuckling your way through, doing something like that. To go out and exercise and be in the sunshine is a way to treat addiction, and it's very effective. As explained by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, long-term substance use can increase the risk of a range of health problems, including cardiovascular disease, stroke, and cancer. Physical exercise is a crucial way to contribute to recovery, and it will help reduce your risk of developing serious health issues. Exercise also has a huge range of mental health benefits, including reduced stress, depression, and anxiety, 3 disorders that are very common among people in recovery. Hello, I have all those 3 things diagnosed. So my exercise regime helps that for sure. On top of this, some studies suggest that exercise can reduce the intensity of cravings and withdrawal symptoms. Oh, let me tell you about that. I went to a health retreat in Queensland in early recovery and quit smoking without any nicotine patches or anything. And it was because I was climbing a mountain, doing yoga, doing all these different kinds of exercises at this health retreat. And I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. That's for me, that's my experience. That's proven that exercise can help. Start out easy at first. Brisk walking will do in the beginning, and you can step it up later. Beautiful. Agree, 100%. The second thing is improve your diet. Now, this is another thing that's on offer at Hills and Ranges Private. They have nutritionists and chefs come in to the chalet and cook for the guests and teach them recipes and nutritious meals that they can cook in recovery that are easy. So it says here, many people suffering from a substance abuse disorders eat a very poor diet, and weight loss is very common. It is also common for people in early recovery to overeat sweets, fast food, and other foods with low nutritional value. But as Psychology Today explains, this can lead to replacing one addiction with another. Oh, this is just, it's hitting home. I'm feeling very called out here. A healthy diet with plenty of water, vegetables, beans, legumes, fruit, nuts, seeds, fish, and lean cuts of meat can help improve your overall health and bring your body back into balance. It can also help your recovery, as rapid weight gain can cause body image issues, which themselves can increase the risk of relapse. Finally, it will also help your body recover from the extra exercise you'll be doing. So yeah, that's so funny, because in my recovery, I've probably put on about 15 kilograms and I'm working on that at the moment. I'm actually vegan, which is the first time I've ever mentioned this, because I don't really like to talk about it very much. I have this joke of like, how do you know if someone's vegan? Oh, they'll tell you. And it's so true, they do. We do. But I mean, it's just, it's not about going vegan or anything like that. It's literally about balance. And in my addiction, I would eat one huge meal a day and then not eat for the rest of the day. And, I was grossly underweight and really, really malnourished. And, today I'm not, I'm actually probably overnourished in a way, because, I definitely do overeat some things, and I'm working on that, which, as we've actually talked about as well. Anyway, now get out into nature. That's another one. We spent a whole episode on that. That is what Hills and Ranges Private is all about, because it's in the Dandenong Ranges. You can hear lyrebirds and just incredible natural sounds, the wind in the trees, rain on leaves, all of those beautiful things. It's so healing, and it's It's so relaxing. Researchers have found that natural environments help the brain relax, which can help reduce the symptoms of certain mental health conditions. 100% agree. This is particularly important for people in recovery who often suffer from high levels of stress. Hiking is a great way to start, and if there are nature trails in your area, you'll be getting some exercise as well as the benefits of nature. Even if you can't get deep into nature, local parks, green spaces, and the coast are also beneficial. Studies have shown that people who live near green spaces tend to have better mental health than people who don't. And finally, start a hobby. If you're in recovery, you may feel like there's a void in your life, and part of the reason is that your routine and focus has completely changed. It's a good idea to fill that void with a hobby. I agree. I've gotten into motor racing. I go to track days and race the car that I've also built in recovery. That's like it's a fantastic hobby. I meet friends and I get to do exciting things all the time. Find what works for you, I reckon. And it says, to summarize and to finish up today, it says, just for today, I'm grateful to be alive. I will do something today to celebrate. So that's my challenge for you guys today, is to do something today to celebrate the fact that you're alive. There will be people listening today that maybe you're not even clean yet, and that's totally fine. Do something that you can do today within your scope of like what you can actually do to celebrate the fact that you're here and you've made it this far. Whether that means you take a nice hot bath, maybe with some incense burning or a candle, or go for a walk and just appreciate the things around you. Write a gratitude list. I've talked about gratitude lists. They're really great. You know, it's a way to celebrate. Cook yourself a nutritious meal. Something that's like going to nourish you. A really nice pasta or something. My favorite dish at the moment is bean burritos. Really getting into that at the moment. Healthy, like legumes, protein, all that stuff. Think there's lots of things. Today, after I finish recording this episode, I'm going to do something for myself to celebrate my recovery. And I think I'm going to go and wash my car and like wax it and then vacuum the interior and then just sit and drink a cup of tea and look at it. It's kind of lame, but hey, that's my new hobby in recovery. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you get to experience what it's like to really, really thrive in recovery. As long as you maintain that recovery program, you will thrive. It's only a matter of time. And if you want some more information, just jump on www.rehab.melbourne. We'll see you next time on the Recovery Cast. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Recovery Cast. For more, visit us at www.rehab.melbourne.